Hoy tenemos en el Confidencial a Željana Zovko. I hope I pronounce it well. She's an MEP from EPP here in European Parliament. She's also the Vice Chair of the Delegation for the Relations with Kosovo. Es un placer, señora Zovko, tenerla hoy aquí con nosotros en el Confidencial. Ha sido embajadora durante algunos años en España y me consta que habla muy bien castellano, así que muchas gracias, es un verdadero placer.
Gracias a usted, es un gran placer para mí dar una entrevista por un periódico español, sobre todo el Confidencial, que es muy leído también. Sí. Es muy importante que usted habla del Parlamento Europeo y de los temas que son interesantes por España también. España que siempre sigue en mi corazón.
So today and this week, we're going to talk about the situation in the Western Balkans. We have a really important and crucial summit ahead, but it comes when the escalation of tensions between Kosovo and Serbia again have risen. Is there a real possibility for these two countries? We have a lot of trauma, a lot of disputes. To them to solve their problems, and what is the role the European Union can take in helping them to solve the problem? How do you assess the situation now?
Yeah, as I'm coming from that region and as I was always focused on the region of Western Balkan, this region is highly on the agenda of European Parliament. We are having the visit today of President of European Commission Ursula von der Leyen, who started her visit in Albania. She's going to Kosovo, North Macedonia, Serbia, and she will end up on Thursday in Bosnia and Herzegovina, where she will, together also with Prime Minister of Croatia and Prime Minister of Bosnia and Herzegovina, open the bridge that unites these countries. So Croatia, that is the biggest border with Western Balkan, and Croatia is also a bridge towards Western Balkan. What is happening and what was happening in recent months with a situation that is aggravating in Western Balkan is just a signal that the European Union must pay a special attention. You have, especially for Spain, that's very important. You have a high representative who's Spanish, and I must say I'm really proud. I got the honor from Spain as a Grand Cruz de Mérito Militar. It was proposal of your generals and Minister of Defense in honor of all the memories for 46,000 Spanish soldiers that during 18 years have passed through Bosnia and Herzegovina. So the peace in the Western Balkan is very fragile, and we can see that recently with all this escalation of situation in Kosovo, between Kosovo and Serbia, between Serbian community also that is trying to find also their way in Kosovo, and it's very tense situation that we are having in a dialogue between Pristina and Belgrade. This is all the sign that we are not doing enough. We are not focusing on our immediate neighborhood. We have seen what has happened in Afghanistan. We see now that European Union was unprepared. We are having situation now that Albania, North Macedonia, and Kosovo are accepting Afghanistani refugees. As a proposal by Americans to accommodate their situation. But what will happen with those who are not going to be granted asylum or who don't have a right for the asylum? Then they will look for their way towards European Union, and this will also cause peace and security situation for European Union. So Western Balkan is a really fragile territory where third actors are playing a significant part. So it's not only Russia, China, there's a Turkey with its assertive policy, there's a Gulf countries, in all these countries are trying to fill the vacuum where European Union is hesitating. So now it's the time to focus our attention because we don't have excuse later on to say that we are being unprepared for this situation. In Kosovo, we have KFOR forces, but we know that Kosovo is highly dependent of American forces. Yeah. So as we don't have this European style autonomy or sovereignty, however you want to call it, what will happen tomorrow if they just decide to pull their military from that area? So it's a time to have Western Balkan high on the agenda, because that's first for Croatia, as I'm Croatian MEP, that's a highly critical, and it's very much a peace and security issue also for security of all European citizens.
Yeah, but you mentioned there is a dialogue driven by the European Union, but it seems it is stuck for many years. It doesn't go ahead. And then it seems there are some countries in the Western Balkan that are disappointed. For example, North Macedonia managed to change its name just to go to be part of the European Union, but then the leaders didn't agree to open the negotiation. Even Emmanuel Macron, for example, has been very outspoken, saying that a European Union needs to stabilize itself after Brexit or the problem with rule of law in eastern countries. So it's not time for the EU to take risks and take countries for the Western Balkan ins. How can we be credible in the region if we are not, as European Union, abiding by our promise to the region? And is the European Union really ready to the Western Balkan to be part of the European project?
It takes two to tango. Its European Union has agreed to give a big envelope that's called IPA 3. I'm co-rapporteur for this 14 billion euros that is going to be invested in this region with big economic investment plan. But this will be mainly based on building the roads, building the highways, where all the goods from European Union will be exported, and where all the economy will be connected from north to south of European Union. But European Union must understand that this is not only economic question. These people are a peace and security question for European citizens. Mm-hmm. What is the major issue in Western Balkan is that all the young people are leaving, and European countries are very happy to have them because they're highly skilled, they are very intelligent, they have a good education, they're blonde with blue eyes. And they look good. And this is, a racist thing to say, but we are suffering from a brain drain. We are suffering for really intelligent youth population who are leaving for other countries. So for me, it's very hypocritical to say that they are not ready to accept these countries. So because these countries are being left with the old people, with people who are not posing danger for anybody, but who will not be able to manage their administration. And it's a time to take responsibility from European leaders. Commission has changed the approach to negotiations. Now we have a different methodology, everything that Mr. Macron has asked. So there is no excuse today to say that these countries are not adopting themselves. But this lack of willingness to say that they are really ready to take them on, that they are really ready also to invest in human capital, and that they are ready, and that these young people have to stay there. Why would they stay if they are not offered European future? But then it's really hypocritical to see that they are so welcome in European countries. So I think that we have to sit down and think, because any conflict that might arise, any opening towards third actors, I think that European Union will pay much more than if they pay more attention and if they invest more effort into this area. I'm afraid to say that the only people who really proved themselves after these conflicts that have happened were military civil society that was helping on the ground, but really brave decisions for a long time are not being made there. And I remember at times, President Chirac. I remember even the time of these really big and brave leaders who have decided that this area is of high interest for European Union. So we need brave European leaders to show the leadership, because this is a backyard of European Union. It's our responsibility. I mean, you have a prime minister who was working in office of High Representative in Bosnia and Herzegovina. He knows what is going on there. So he should do something as well. I mean, there is no one really who can say that they don't know what is going on and what can happen if they don't act.
The situation is far from different, but it can end up in a kind of similar situation. For example, we have the example of Turkey. The country was waiting more than 30 years for the European Union. At the end, it took another trend. It's distanced himself from the European Union for several years. We've seen that the integration of Turkey in the European project is just an illusion. But are you afraid that the same case will apply to the Western Balkans, like they are waiting and waiting for many years and their process doesn't develop as they want? So are you afraid that at the end the Western countries, we are pushing them towards other arms such as the Russians or the Chinese to fill the vacuum that European Union are not?
Yeah, and don't forget the Turkey arms. Don't forget Arab arms. So what I'm afraid of, it's extremism. I'm afraid of high polarization. Yeah. And I'm afraid of all this situation that might arise if we don't focus our attention. Western Balkan does not have anything to do with Turkey, although I'm strongly encouraging the change and transformation of Turkish society. But Turkey is high from the Turkey that we have seen a long time ago, when we had the highest secular society. So we are now trying to help still Turkey to understand that human rights, rule of, and all these issues that we are having in European Union are requested from their society. Turkey has a high assertive policy that is also expressed in Western Balkan. So Turkey, Russia, China, why do we need to look at that, and why do we need to leave this land to these actors? This is for Croatia, that's a peace and security issue, as I said. That's why Croatia is a biggest advocate for joining Western Balkan countries to European Union, because they don't want to be a border country, they don't want to be frontier country. We know during the centuries what does it mean to be a frontier country when you have on the other side instability and failed state, what can happen. And we are advocating, our Prime Minister organized the Western Balkan Summit, where he focused the attention on the issues that might arise if we don't have a coherent and clear policy what to do with these countries. And I welcome this visit from, as I already said, from President Ursula von der Leyen, that will encourage and that will also refocus our attention to the area that is just a part of Europe. These people are Europeans. This is a black hole in the middle of Europe that is bleeding without attention, and that can escalate if we don't make our mind and if we don't start doing something. But unfortunately, foreign policy is never an issue for politicians in their respective countries. It's just a burden. So unless they see terrible pictures on CNN or they see heartbreaking stories, they don't act. But now they have to anticipate in the memories of what has happened before. They have to look and sit down, and they have to look for lessons learned. Where did we go wrong in the last 25 years? Where did we go wrong? Where did we go wrong with Bosnia and Herzegovina? We have three people there, three constituent people that are drifting apart because there is no solution for their joint future, because they don't have electoral law.
Yeah.
So they're being left as well without any guidance. They're being left just to depend on external help and also to external influences. I was just reading reports of how many of these countries are adhering to European foreign policy, because each one of them are counting one vote in UN when we are deciding about our orientations. So who are they going to be influenced by?
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned the case of Bosnia and Herzegovina. It took my attention to, I don't know if you're aware, there were some known papers, very controversial, coming from Janez Janša a few months ago. He's a member of the EPP. He was kind of asking the European Union to reshape the borders of the Western Balkans, which is a very sensitive, of course, issue. For example, he called for the dissolution of Bosnia. How do you see that? And do you think, and it has been raised by other parties, other people, could it be an option to reshape, to change the borders of some countries of the Western Balkans in order to solve some of the current disputes?
No, absolutely. I don't see any option to reshape or restore the borders. And this thing that was, this rumor that was being attributed to Janez Janša, who is also a member of EPP, of our group, has been resolved by the denial from the part of the Council that this paper never existed. So it's just hear and say. So, I mean, I would not speculate, because we know during the war how much speculation have ignited the fire in some parts. So in order to create a chaos at home, sometimes somebody can make a fire by accusing or by giving or pushing these fake phantom papers, as I would like to say. The issue is really that we don't have any paper. We don't have, that's the biggest problem. I mean, I would love to see many papers circulating around to see the future and how to go forward. But we don't see any, because if you mention Bosnia and Herzegovina, no one wants to take care of it. No one wants to focus, or no one wants to sit down and resolve this problem. But that's the biggest problem. I mean, Bosnia and Herzegovina is a key country, is the bridge. If that country doesn't work, Western Balkan will never function. And we offered on many occasions here a resolution that called for middle way between two extremes, separatism and centralism, that we see in European Union. You have Spain that is functioning on a nice, fine balance between communities, between people, as a federal kingdom. In a way. So for Bosnia and Herzegovina, that's the only solution. But people still live in that old mentality where it's my way or highway that we had during the former Yugoslavia, and where you had a dictatorship. And I'm afraid I know the war, I was a refugee, and I know what it means when you have somebody who has the force, who has the police and has the army and want to impose the rule of their majority. So I wouldn't want that for any community in Bosnia and Herzegovina to feel it. And especially as a Croat, and as I'm coming from Mostar, I'm originally, Mostarian, I know how fragile the peace can be, and that we need to find a balance for this country.
Madam Zovko, let me ask you just this question in Spanish, so you can prove to the people from the Confidencial that your Spanish is very well. Uno de los problemas no solo de los Balcanes occidentales, sino en general de visión de la Unión Europea con su visión estratégica o en política exterior, es la falta de unidad. En este caso, por ejemplo, es muy visible. Vemos que hay 5 países de la Unión Europea que no reconocen a Kosovo como un Estado independiente y soberano. ¿Debería España reconocer a Kosovo como un Estado independiente y ayudaría a ello a crear como una estrategia más clara de la Unión Europea sobre los Balcanes?
Yo no voy a decir a nadie qué tiene que hacer, sobre todo no a España. Cada país tiene su problema, su visión, también sus razones para actuar. Para nosotros todo es un compromiso. Compromiso que Kosovo es un caso sui generis y la solución tiene que encontrarse entre Pristina y Belgrado. España tiene que apoyar la solución. porque eso es un problema de la paz y de la seguridad. Pero nunca yo voy a decir ninguno de esos países porque yo como antiguamente era diplomática, conozco muy bien la situación interior de cada país y nosotros no podemos hacer esos comentarios e imponer a alguien que tiene sus problemas a hacer algo así.
Let me just ask you a final question. Because of the time I would be talking to you, it's so interesting, a lot of time more. So we said at the beginning, we have an important summit next week from the 27 member states regarding the Western Balkans. What can we expect, but especially what could be a good outcome, a good message for the region or good result of the summit?
I'm not very much optimistic that the declaration that will come out of this summit will offer a brighter future or more hopes for this region. But at least as long as we are having summits, the interest is on them. What I'm confident about is this financial package, as I already said. I just want them to use that as much as possible to strengthen their capacities to absorb more money from these pre-accession funds, and also to have something in return more from European Union in the trade, in the preferences, and in all these trade preferences, in all these matters where European Union can show its better face, then because European Union has to be more visible. I mean, we are not having anything from all these dates and promising you will come this day or that day. What we have to show there is much more visibility. We have to show that we do care, that the enlargement process is also in our interest, not only in the interest of Western Balkan, because you have all these actors who are not very benevolent, but who offer money and who offer partnerships. And we have to show them that it's in our interest as well that they join.
You mean Russia and China, but these not really benevolent actors?
Of course. I mean, they don't have European values. And European values, as I already said, the biggest loss after the war for these countries, after all these lives were lost and after all these houses and properties were destroyed, is a loss of youth. And this youth is not going to East. They're going to European Union. And this is where they're looking for their future. So what we want to offer them is a return of this youth to start and to work to the interest of both. The future of these countries must be European, or European will not be. Because European Union has started as a peace project. And if we have a conflict on our borders, we cannot be safe. So we have to understand that, and the pedagogy has to work on both ways.
Okay, we can finish with that. We are running out of time. Ha sido un placer, ha sido muy interesante. Y señora Zovko, es usted bienvenida en el Confidencial cuando quiera. Gracias.
Muchísimas gracias. Encantada. Mis abrazos a todos los españoles.
Gracias.